We are live with the Gen Zer. Say what's up.
It's the Gen Z, and I'm here with Mind Maxing, and today we're going to discuss how Gen Z can adapt to the dating marketplace in the next 3 years. How you feeling, Mind Maxing?
Absolutely feeling good, man. And for people watching, guys, don't worry about the screen. It's just the way I set it up for now to feel good about it. You know what I'm saying? The content I'm dropping deserves some privacy, man. So don't worry about it. Just focus on the content, man. What are we going to talk about today?
Oh man, speaking of content, we have a lot of insightful content to discuss, and it will all center around the steps that Gen Zers can take to maximize their dating experience in the next 3 years. Because to be honest with you, dating right now is just dog shit. The dating marketplace has gone to shit. It's in ruins.
Absolutely, man. The dating marketplace is not looking good for anybody, but it's even worse for Gen Z, man. Anybody who's under, what is it, like 29 years old right now is struggling in this marketplace. Struggling. They're not even going out, they're not even getting dates. That is just not happening for them.
And we need to be specific when we mention when you say anybody. Any dude, most dudes, the average dude.
You know, know
Uh,
what I'm talking about, man. Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the average chick under 26, or under 29, she has a lot of options and she's exercising these options
She
as
certainly has some options, yeah. Definitely more options than the average guy, for sure.
yeah. So the average guy needs to get his weight up. And honestly, that's what we're going to discuss today. We're going to try to provide some insight into how young men and any men for that matter can improve themselves and can put themselves in a position to get the maximum benefits out of this marketplace. Because guess what? Although this marketplace is broken, if you take the minimum steps and if you put forth a small amount of effort, you can put yourself ahead of the pack and maximize and crush it out there.
Most definitely. As we highlighted at the last show, it's like 30% of guys, according to that survey, didn't get laid last year. But 60% or roughly only got laid once. If we really were to like break it down, some guys got lucky once or maybe twice. But for the most part, it's like 60%, 70% of guys who really maybe only got lucky once last year, the last 12 months, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the assessment. Like most guys are struggling. Most guys are on the hub, watching on the hub multiple hours a day. Most guys don't have a strategy when it comes to dating marketplace. We gotta help those guys, man.
Yeah. And in order to help those guys, I think we have to provide them some steps or just some guidance on what to do. And honestly, my first piece of advice would be for guys to get their minds right, improve your mental health. And by improve your mental health, I don't mean the cliche, go to a therapist and help him. No, I don't mean that. I mean that guys have to get their priorities in order. Guys have to get off their asses. They have to stop looking at the prawn. They have to, put themselves in a mindset of success. Because guess what? Long before anybody's ever successful, they have to think like a successful individual.
Absolutely, man. Like from a mental health standpoint, I've said it like guys gotta have a routine where they're going to the gym, right? Being in top shape physically is like the first step. Is being in good shape physically. That's like the first step. And when you have that, you gotta have a routine that you follow consistently.
Right? And so many guys are not in the gym, sadly. I mean, I don't understand why. Like, you don't even need a gym membership. If you can't afford to have a gym membership, you can go to your local park where you could run. There's some outdoor uh locations which may have weights for you to lift and whatnot. You could build your own home gym. There's so many different ways for guys to get their workouts in.
Yeah,
But
cardio is like the number one thing that you can do.
yeah, and if you don't want to do cardio, if you want to do calisthenics, you could find various parks where you have public access to these parks and they have free equipment for you to work out in. But guys want to create all sorts of excuses Oh, I don't have the money for a gym. Oh, well, I can't go to the park. I don't have the time. But they make time for all other nonsense.
Yeah, from a mental health standpoint, man, cardio. Once you have a regular cardio routine, I could guarantee you that things are just gonna look better, man. They're gonna start looking better because you're gonna feel better from a mental health standpoint, physically. Those endorphins, you know what I mean? Like cardio is the number one thing, and then of course you gotta lift weights, you gotta put on those muscles, you gotta mug max. You know what I mean?
And not to be cliche, but for those guys out there who just don't have any motivation to do anything, listen, I'd say follow Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for a better life. Now here's why, right? Make your bed. Like a lot of guys wake up and they're already living in slop. They're living in disorder. And you can tell that these guys just don't have any motivations to improve themselves. But if you take that first step, you take that baby step, then it's going to accumulate. It's like a snowball, the snowball effect. You take one
Right,
step
right.
and then you can propel yourself towards more success.
Most definitely, man. Yeah, yeah. So mental health, I don't disagree with you. It's very important. But if we get straight to the dating aspect, these guys, we need to put them on game. We need to put them on game, regardless, like location, logistics, where to go, where to actually go and meet women. Should they be using dating apps or not? What should they be doing in terms of aesthetics, looks, because we know that matters. Should they travel? Those are really the areas where those guys need help. You know what I mean?
Right. But I mean, they also need help in the mental health aspect because guess what? If you're not thinking clearly, if you're mentally jacked up and you're going out there, you're trying to find a chick to latch onto, man, you're gonna put yourself in an even worse position. So certainly getting your mind right is the first step. But let's address the other steps, right? Where do you look for or where do you look towards to find, a nice
Yeah,
a nice
man.
chick? Eh,
Everybody will tell you, location is the most important thing. If you're
eh,
not looking in the right place, you're not gonna find anything. It's like you're going fishing, right? And you go to a lake where there's no fish. You're not gonna catch anything. So location, 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 right? But location is more tricky than guys realize, right? Let's say you go to a place where there's a lot of girls, right? And you think, oh, it's a lot of them, so it's gonna be easy for me to find something, right? It doesn't work like that because as the location gets bigger and bigger, like if you go to a big city, the competition gets more intense, right? So it's also a different strategy to know how to look, right? Like more women in a location doesn't necessarily mean it's easier. Doesn't mean it's easier for you to get from point A to point B. It just means that now you have something to play with, but you still need a strategy for that.
Well, although location always matters, we live in a global world, a globalized world. So you could be in the middle of Kentucky and you can see what the girls are looking like out in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
But be that as it may, of course, you have to be in that location physically for you to truly have success in dating. I completely agree with that. And as far as location goes, in order to maximize the value out of being in a prime location, you have to maximize the value for yourself as an individual. If
Mhm.
you increase your value as an individual, it doesn't matter the location I drop you in, you'll be able to succeed. But if you just go to a better location, meanwhile, you're still the same bum you were when you were a big fish in a small pond, you're not
True.
going to succeed. The guy who's the best guy out in cornfields, Iowa, is
Mhm.
probably not going to be competitive in New York City unless he's on that caliber
Yeah,
of New York City residents.
you gotta adapt to the environment. You gotta adapt to the location. So if you take a guy who's like in a regular mid-sized town in America, right? he's gonna have, let's say, hundreds or even thousands of girls that he could potentially go after. That guy is gonna need more of a, you could say, a middle of the road strategy in terms of aesthetics, game, logistics, right? He's gonna have to go out to the social hangouts, whether it's the club or a lounge. What I recommend is to go out in the nightlife at least once every 2 weeks. You don't need to do it every weekend, but at least once every 2 weeks, you need to be out there at a club or a lounge where you'll be running into girls that are looking for something, that are down, that are DTF. That's my first recommendation. Like nightlife, social hangouts once every 2 weeks, and that's already a good starting point.
I will say to be cautious about the nightlife though, because far too often the nightlife industry just takes advantage of guys, right? You have to understand that
Mhm.
clubs always have those events, or what which they put on where they let ladies come in free, and guys end up being the suckers and paying for everything, right?
Right.
And of course it's fun to participate in the nightlife, but you have to be careful as to why you're there and as to who you're attracting.
Well, that's why I
I,
said once every 2 weeks,
I,
because that way, from a budget standpoint,
I
if you don't go out every week, you could like save a budget for like, let's say, $100 every 2 weeks.
I still think that's, I mean, it depends on the city in which you're in, but also
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I think that's a bit too much though. I would say at least once a month to go out. I would advise that.
No, I don't think that's enough. I think you need to be hitting the streets at least twice a month. So every other Saturday, you show up to a lounge or a club. You have $100. You might have to pay $20 to get in. The other 80, you can get drinks. You can talk to different girls. You can make a move once every 2 weeks, because the guy, if you go out once a month, the average guy is not gonna be successful every night he goes out,
But define
right?
success. Define
You
successful.
show up, you interact with different girls, you try to get at least one of them where you're not just gonna get the number, but you're gonna have some good interactions that are gonna make her wanna see you again. That to me is a success. It's not just, oh, she no, she gave me the number. That's not enough. Like you had some good, you danced with her, you bought her a drink, you know what I mean? You vibed, and then now she wants to see you again. But I think you gotta do it at least twice a month, dude. I don't think once a month is enough.
The reason why I disagree with that is because you're essentially putting yourself out there to subject yourself to a cold approach environment, right? And in my humble opinion, I don't think cold approach is the best strategy to use in the dating marketplace. And I wouldn't advise Gen Z to use that, especially for Gen Z. Gen Z girls are typically not as, you know, receptive to cold approach as girls of previous generations, from what I've seen, right? And I don't, knock down cold approach completely, but if I were to go about it, I'd say putting yourself in an environment where you're with people who have similar hobbies to you, and then they introduce you to their friend group. I think that's the best way to do it.
Well, the nightlife is not the same though. It's not really cold approach. Like the nightlife is not. It's not. I wouldn't say it's cold approach. I would say it's more like a warm approach. If you're at a club, it's not really cold approach. That's why I said these girls, they're there for something, right? You gotta be able to peep game and see who's there just for attention, who's there because she's trying to have a good time, who's there because, right? It's not really a cold approach because you're gonna be in an environment. That's why I'm not opposed to nightclubs and lounges. I know a lot of guys are opposed to going to the nightclub or going to a lounge or like that's those are some of the best places, quite frankly, to meet girls that are ready to go. You know what I mean?
I'm not per se opposed to lounges and nightclubs, but I have them very low on my totem pole when it comes to dating.
What would be on your top, like your top options?
A house party would be way higher
Come on,
than a club.
who's gonna? You know these guys ain't organizing a house party, man.
Well,
Come on,
listen, man. Hey, listen, Gen Z,
those guys ain't
a
doing
lot
that
of
for you.
Gen Zers are still in college, and you're still around that college age. So a lot of people should be, able to attend a house party. By far, if you attend a house party, it's far easier for you to have dating interactions, and to it's far easier for these environments to lead to
But it's not
hookups and what.
consistent though. I'm talking about consistent. Guys are not gonna be throwing house parties on a consistent basis. Most guys are not gonna be doing that. Right? We're trying to give them strategies that they can consistently use so that they have those options coming in.
Well, if you want a consistent strategy, I would say make make some female friends, because if you make female friends who have female friends,
Hmm.
you're able to be invited to the same
That
events.
social circle game.
Social circle game, once again, that's what I call a warm approach game. Being at the club just
Right.
because you're at the same setting doesn't make it not a cold approach. If you don't know them, you haven't spoken to them, you don't have any prior interactions to them, that's a cold approach. It doesn't matter from
I'm gonna
where.
be honest with you right now, man. I don't really buy the whole social circle game thing for younger people. I think for older people, like 30s and older, like they have a network, they know people that can work for them. I think for most younger guys, you have to go out there and you have to, you know what I'm saying? You have to hunt, man. I don't think you can rely on a social circle, quite frankly. Those younger guys, their friends don't have female friends like that. You know what I
No.
mean? I don't
Um,
really think that's a good strategy for guys like 20, 22, 23.
that's not particularly true, man. Listen, everyone,
It's
you're,
a cold world out there, man.
generally you're gonna know at least a few girls who'll know some other girls.
Those girls, you know what? Those girls, they're on Instagram, they're scrolling. They already got their eyes on somebody else.
Yes,
Right?
but
So they're
listen,
not
it's
gonna
it's
go
not
to a
about
nightclub.
them. It's not about them. They have connections, right? So for instance, remember that one time we went out, right? We went out and then we met these group of friends, right? This girl, the girl from New Jersey, and then that dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the dude was like, "Hey, buy me a drink." And I was like, "No, but you said that was not a good idea, right?" Because
You should have bought him a drink, bro.
why? Because he probably,
He could have hooked you up, bro.
exactly.
But that's my point. We met him at a lounge, dude.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We met them at a lounge. He was there with three girls. The dude was gay, so he wasn't smashing them, right? But we didn't realize that, right? Like we should have like made a move. That same night we could have done something.
Yeah, and while that was a somewhat fruitful interaction from a nightclub,
Mm.
most nightclub outings aren't like that. Most nightclub outings, they're not going to be that productive, and there's going to be a lot of time wasted.
They should be, dude. They should be.
It
Guys need a strategy.
They should be fun, man. And I think if guys are going out, just going out by yourself, I
Mm.
think it's pretty dumb. Go out with your friends to
Get
have
another
fun.
wingman, bro.
Not even wingman. Just go out to have fun with your friends. Make that your primary purpose. Secondarily, if you want to talk to some girls while you're there, fine.
Mm.
You know, and that's why I really advocate hobbies and whatnot, because if you have a mutual hobby with a girl, or with somebody who knows girls who they can introduce you to, that's gonna make it so much easier for you to date successfully.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. But I still think that guys have to be very honest with themselves about what they want. Like you're going out to spit game, to Wiz, whatever. You're going out for girls. You gotta be very clear. Tonight I'm going out to get to have some interactions with some girls, to get a phone number. You have to be very honest. If you're like, I'm going out maybe to have some fun with my friends, maybe like you're not gonna make it happen.
Let me tell you why that's a faulty approach nowadays, right? To go out solely with the purpose of trying to riz. Here's the thing, man. Most of these girls already got a ton of riz coming at them
I
in the
mean,
palm of their hands.
hey,
In
hey,
the palm of their hands. And here you go, you a goofy. You're showing up to her, you're pulling up to her. Hey, I'm trying to riz. You like my riz? You think you're Dennis Duke, right? You think you're Dennis Duke? Hey, I got the riz. You're not a riz god, bro. You're not a riz maester. Calm down. Look, if you find yourself in a situation or in a setting where you can organically speak to a girl, I'd say go for it. But just know that if you're going out there with the express intent of just finding a girl, of just trying to raise that, most girls you see, you're not going to be successful like that. I don't think that's the recipe for
No,
success.
definitely not most girls you see.
Or even, just girls you find attractive. It doesn't matter. I don't think that's a recipe for success. I would
You got to
advise go.
find a spot though. Like you see the spots we've been to. Some of them, there's a bunch of girls there, and you know they're looking. Like when we went out to that one spot, we went there like 2 or 3 times. There was a bunch of girls there. The reason why we didn't do anything, we didn't get anything, is because from a sexual market value, we were not up there. Like let's just keep it real.
Here's another issue which you fail to realize too. Even if we were up, I mean, even if we were up there from a sexual market value standpoint, you realize that when these girls go out, they go out in groups. And if they're going out in groups, essentially it's going to be very difficult for you to
Yeah, but
get some
we have to
success.
assess what took place. Remember that one night there were those 2 girls that came in. They're standing there looking real nice. And then this Tyrone dude just calling, hey, come over to our section. And they just went, right? Like, they're not always going out in groups. Sometimes there's 2 girls, sometimes there's 3. It's not like these big groups of like 5 girls, 10 girls, like 2 girls, 3 girls. Like any Tyrone, any guy who's like looking good that night and is on point can pull those girls. And we've seen it happen, right? So, but the number one thing is you have to show up.
In my personal
You have to
experience,
be there.
in my personal experience, girls generally go out in groups of four, at least four. And there's always going to be a cock blocker in that group. There's going to be a behemoth.
Right.
How do I
Yeah.
say this? There's going to be what an a rhino in that group
I
trying to
mean,
stop you. An
there's
elephant in that, or a land well in that
there's
group
ways to get
to
around
to
that.
block
I
you.
mean, but here's the thing. Remember, we're talking to Gen Z because somebody like me in my position. Remember, we went out to that one spot, and then there were those 2 girls there, and but they were older. They were like in their 30s, right? For Gen Z, they're mostly gonna be talking to girls who are like 21 to maybe 24, maybe something like that. With those girls, it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be harder. So your game gotta be on point. Again, I really think there's 2 issues, right? Showing up, going to the right place, right? Knowing what spots where there's always gonna be a lot of girls, right? Don't worry about their attractiveness. You're not on that level yet. Just make sure that when you show up, there's some girls there. It's not gonna be the hottest girls in town. That's fine. And then number 2 is once you're there, you have to compare yourself to the competition and be like, can I compete with those guys? Is my SMV high enough for me? And by showing up there consistently, you'll know how to level up so that you can be the Taiwan or the Chad in that environment.
Now, once again, I'm going to have to disagree with that vehemently.
Damn, bro.
And here's why, man. How many shows on YouTube have you watched where, guys constantly talk about who will most likely be most successful in the nightclub? We already know the prototype, the archetype. You see it on the Fresh and Fit podcast, right?
Yeah,
Guys who
those
are
guys are
popping
like,
bottles and
you seen which clubs they go to, right? The
okay,
fresh and fit guys.
of
Those
course,
guys be doing it like
right.
AOD or
Yeah, those are elite clubs in Miami, but that's the same thing that's replicated for, all the big clubs all throughout the country, right? All throughout the United States or all throughout the globe for that matter. And also, even in small towns, there's going to be a hierarchy. And I think just going to the clubs consistently every 2 weeks, have you as you stated, it's not going to help you improve. If you go once a month, sure, you go out just to keep your pulse on what's going on in the nightlife, that's fine. But you also have to work to save your money. And I think nowadays there are much better environments to meet girls in, attractive girls in, than the nightclub. If anything, I think the gym will probably be a better
nah,
environment.
don't
And
do it, don't do it.
and I'm not telling guys to approach at the gym, right?
Mhm.
Unless you're getting choosing signals, or you're getting burning desire from
Don't do
from a
it.
chick at the gym. But these days, man, when I've gone to the club, I see less and less attractive women every day at the club.
I'm gonna say something right now that's very counterintuitive, right? I think the gym is even more of a aesthetic based environment than the nightclub. What I've seen in the gym is the guys who get choosing signals and in many cases actually meet their girl at the gym, they tend to be the buff dudes in there. The gym is even more aesthetic based. The nightclub, you can run some game, you can buy her a drink. The gym, you can't do that, bro. I've seen that.
And you know what? I prefer the gym environment for that reason, then, because guess what? It forces you to improve yourself. You want to be that guy to have success, you got to improve yourself to that level where you merit it. In the nightclub, just imagine buying drinks for a girl. Like I've gotten suckered before where you were there, you saw that. A chick told me to buy her a drink. I bought her the drink
And
and
then she bounced 30 seconds
she
later.
bounced right after she drank the drink. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
okay.
but remember, okay, that's a good example. You learn from that, right?
I
Because
learned from that.
remember what I said was you should have asked her, hey, what do I get in return? Like those are the things that you actually learn from. That's why I encourage guys to actually do it because they will make mistakes, but they will learn so much from those mistakes.
That's true. That's true. And you know, I have a good friend of mine who started going out more on his own. I don't think he was going to the club per se, but he was going, to bars and, various nightlife events, and he worked on his game and he met more friends there, and that's good, right?
Mm.
However, like I've stated before, once again, I don't think it's wise for you to continuously keep participating in the nightlife at the rate that you stated every other week if you don't have that economic foundation, right?
Dude,
And as a young guy in Gen Z, you don't have money like that,
I said a
don't be
hundred bucks
balling.
every 2 weeks. That's $200 a month. I think it's a good investment. Again, you have to go
dude,
to the right location though.
dude, that's 2,600 bucks a year.
That's nothing. That's $200 a month. You're going to the right club. Guys
Eh,
are gonna spend. Here's what you fail to realize is that they're gonna spend the money regardless, right? Because those guys are younger. They need to go out. They need to have fun with their friends, right? They're gonna spend the money regardless. What I'm telling them is to actually go to some key locations where they know that there's activity, right? Don't go to a place where it's a bunch of dudes, it's a sausage fest. You go there once, you don't go back there again, right?
That's the club. You just described the
No.
club.
There's clubs we've been to, there's lounges we've been to where it was a bunch of girls. It doesn't have to be the club, it could be a lounge, it could be a whatever, like a nightlife hangout where there's women working around, right? You gotta know those locations, like 3 or 4 locations where you could go consistently.
Mm, that's true.
But anyway, that's just one, right? That's just one strategy. Other than uh, nightlife and maybe the club or the lounge or the gym, like you said, what other strategy do you think those guys can use to put themselves out there?
I'm going to throw one out there, which is very underrated. And not many guys know about this. You have to truly be at a high level for this to
Okay.
work for you. Go to the cigar bar.
Oh snap.
At the
Okay.
cigar bar. And listen, you see, when I was in school, right, one of my professors, he wanted to speak to me and some of my fellow classmates. He invited us to the cigar bar to speak. And once I arrived there, I realized, wow, that's what the dynamic is there. When you're at the cigar bar, all you see is high value men. Shout out to Kevin Samuels, RIP to him, RIP to the Godfather. But really, when you're at the cigar bar, most guys there have to be high value, right? And guess what? Guess what high value men attract? Gorgeous women. You see gorgeous women all over. Now, young Gen Z guys, you got to be careful. There will be gold diggers there. If you go to the cigar
Yes,
bar
sir.
and you try to expose yourself out there, you might be a target. But you have to be cognizant that if you want to find beautiful women, you have to place yourself in environments where beautiful women tend to congregate. And these environments are where high value men are located. Now,
Oh snap! Hold on, there's somebody in the chat. My boy Big Ed. Hey, what's up, man? I
what do you say?
didn't. My boy Big Ed going off in the chat. escort maxing. You should number collect if you're gonna spend the money to go out. Then call them all up and set days throughout the week. I definitely agree with that, man. Get as many numbers as you can, and then call them during the week to set up some dates. Guys, put on all the parties for sure. Yeah, he asked you a question. That's a good question for you. He
Mhm.
said, "When was the last time a female friend invited you to a house party?"
When was
That's
the
a
last
great
time?
question.
Literally when I was in school. Let me see. Not too long ago. That was like I think about 2 years ago. Since yeah, it was. I've left school about 2 years ago. Yeah, like I was really
Yeah,
good friend.
that's a good question. Like it just shows you how difficult it is to rely on house parties.
It listen for me when I attended school, I was the youngest in my class, right? And all the females they felt comfortable with me, they and guess what? They invited me to parties where I got some action there.
My boy Big Ed is hilarious. He said, "Go gay at the cigar bar. That is
Yeah.
100% old man."
Uh, I don't know which cigar bars you're going to, man.
Oh, he
I
said,
don't know which
"Yeah."
cigar bars he's going to, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't say that.
I haven't been to a cigar bar to be honest with you.
Go to Coronas. Coronas is a chain. Listen, man. It depends at the time you go, yeah, which you go to. If you go during the day, most likely than not, yeah, you're probably just gonna see old dudes or rich dudes there. But if you go at night, I'm pretty sure you're gonna see some very hot chicks there. Take it from me.
Like going to a bar to a lounge, I definitely think that is more effective than going to a house party for sure. It doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter if you're in a small town or a big city. I'd have to agree with that, man. My boy Big Ed spitting mad game in the chat.
Hey, and I agree with you, Big Ed. I'm not saying to rely on girls inviting you to a house party. That's not what I'm saying. You can throw your own party. There's many different ways you can go around it. What I am saying is just relying on nightlife alone or partaking in nightlife so often is not a smart idea because that's just going to whittle down the money which you have. And young Gen Z guys especially, we don't have that much money to begin with. It's time to we're in that accumulation phase. We need to grow our money. And once we've grown our money, then we can go ahead and do all other things. And I know you mentioned escort maxing there. I would advise against that, especially for Gen Zers. Look, Gen Z dudes, they're already kind of fucked up mentally, right? So if you start escort maxing, especially when you don't have money to, you're gonna be stuck in a downward spiral.
That's not escort maxing is not a strategy.
It
It's a last resort.
Yeah, it's not a strategy.
It's a last resort.
And I'm not knocking it, but I'm saying that if you want to do escort maxing, try everything else first. Once you've tried everything else first and you've done everything else, then I'd say okay, go
You
ahead
got
for
a
that.
good point. Though. He said throwing our own parties is more expensive, and also you caretake for people all night. Yeah, throwing your own parties it can be expensive. It doesn't have to be.
Does it
You
have to
can get
be?
with a few friends and say, "Hey, let's go get a few bottles, right?
Everybody
A
brings
couple of bottles, and then."
you bring a few boxes of pizza, everybody brings
But
some
the big
drinks, you're
thing
fine.
with house parties is you gotta have that social circle because you gotta
Exactly.
invite people, right? The girls that you're inviting, you gotta know them. They're not just gonna right. You're not gonna invite strangers.
You invite one girl, she knows other girls, they're practically strangers to you. She brings
But you
them
gotta be
along.
high value. You gotta be throwing high value parties, which Gen Z, I'm not sure.
I
Most
don't
Gen
know
Z
about
guys are
that.
not gonna be throwing high value parties that a lot of girls will wanna go to, like Dan Bilzerian,
You don't need to throw high
Dan
value
Bilzerian
parties.
or Chris Brown or some crazy shit like
No,
that.
bro, dude, no, you got it messed up, man. You have a few boxes of pizza. You tell everybody bring a drink, dude.
Mhm.
You play some beer pong. You got a party right there.
I think
You,
it gets back to what we were saying the last episode. You live in a society that's too broken down. It's not the same society that that you had 20 years ago, where people were just going to parties and things like that. That
that's
doesn't
true.
happen anymore. So that's why I'm giving guys solutions like you go out like once every 2 weeks. You meet girls there. You collect phone numbers. I don't think anything that relies on social circle to me is not gonna work for most people.
You know what? I think a better advice than just going out and participating in nightlife every 2 weeks would probably be Do a new activity every 2 weeks.
Right.
Nightlife may be it too, but for example, go to a different city every new weeks, right? Drive to a town, if it's within driving distance, but it's, not close to you, drive there. Drive to a new town, do a new activity. Maybe you go uh water rafting this week, and then next week maybe you go, mountain biking or something like that. And by
That's
doing these very things, you expose yourself to a larger number of people, and like by doing so, you expose yourself to a larger number of girls potentially.
that's a good point, and it brings us to the next strategy, which is the day life, the day game. Because what I notice is in my city is like there's 10 times more girls going around, walking around that you can talk to during the day as opposed to at night. Like when I go out on Saturday, on Sunday, I see so many girls. I'm like, where have these girls been hiding? I mean, I had girls walking everywhere. I'm like, God damn. But of course, it's more difficult because they're with their friends, they're with family members, they're going to meet with someone. It's more social. But I see so many girls. What strategy would you use during the day to? I know you don't like the cold approach, right? But how would you go about meeting women during the day?
I mean, cold approach is really the only strategy for a day game unless you know somebody from a prior interaction. Now, I am not a fan of cold approach at all, not because I haven't done it or because it's utterly useless, right? You can have some success with cold approach, but it's
Right.
always going to be the least successful approach that you can use, right?
Mhm.
Eh, It's just I just don't think it's efficient. It's not efficient for
It
you.
is definitely a skills game. If you don't have it like that, it's
No, it's a
hard to
numbers
think about
game.
it.
It's a numbers game, man.
Right.
I mean, if you talk to 1,000 women, one of them will give you the light of day.
But you gotta optimize your numbers. You don't want to talk to 1,000. You know what I mean? Like if you talk to 50, how many of them can you get to give you the number and set up a date?
Uh,
That's the real question.
Now let's get to Gen Z here. Gen Z girls usually don't give you their numbers, man,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll give you their Snapchat. They'll give you their
You don't want that.
Instagram.
You don't want
You
that.
see, and you understand why, right? It's
Right.
because they want to, first of all, they want to see what your social markers of value are. They want to see, oh, what kind of Instagram does he have? Is this guy followed by others? And they also want to see, what's his Snapchat score?
You don't
Is
want to
is
do
he
that.
talking to other hoes and whatnot?
You don't want to do that. But what you said earlier about the cigar bar, right?
Hmm.
Maybe there are other places that they can go. A Gen Z guy is not gonna go to a cigar bar. He doesn't have the money for that. But maybe there are other locations, places that they could go to.
I'd say go to mini golfing, or there's a lot of mini golfing ranges which are open nowadays. Say maybe if you can go there with your friends, you'll find girls
Okay.
there.
Big Ed just posted a comment. He said, I activity max almost to and seldom in the past. Work plus Buddhist temple plus volunteering plus boxing. I have 100x female interactions and dates just being where women are, like uni, library, or nightclub. Uni, library, or nightclub. So the library, what do you think about the library? The university library. Is that a good place?
I think the uni library is a great place. I think that's probably a much better place
But
than the
it might be
nightclub.
problematic if you're just a random stranger just going in there
N-
talking to girls.
You see, you talk about having game. I think
Right.
that the university library will probably be the best place for day game, right? Because
Mhm.
you already have books, right? Maybe somebody's reading a book. Oh, hey, what are you reading here? Oh, you're reading Voltaire. Yeah, and you find a way to work your charm around what they're reading, and you strike up a conversation, and then boom.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see because I've never had success in that type of environment.
Have you ever tried that type of environment?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was at school, I never managed to approach or even like try talking to a girl at a library. That's something because nobody else was doing it. I didn't see anybody at my school.
And that's why it will render
You know what I mean?
more success than you can imagine because
Right.
nobody's thinking of doing that. I've never done that, but now that I think about it, that's a great strategy to do. And guess what? Guess where you get success? You get success by doing what others haven't done.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll take that into account, man.
yeah, but
Go
what?
to the library.
Yeah, what was I saying again about What was I discussing before that?
The day game strategy.
Yeah, for day game, I'm absolutely against. I'm not against day game, but I just don't think it's best. And for my young guys are. Oh, I was gonna say for Gen Z, right?
Mhm.
For Gen Z, day game is gonna be very risky, man, because it's not because of the guys, but Gen Z girls just don't respond to day game as well as others.
You think they might get pepper spray, man?
They might, dude. Dude, Gen Z girls are stuck on their phones, man. Their entire lives is in their mind control device in their hands. So
Yeah. Remember what we're trying to do here. We're not even talking about the whole become a high value man. We're not even talking about that yet. We're strictly talking about the tactics, like where to go, who to talk to. We're not even talking about the S&D stuff, the sexual market value stuff. That's a whole another conversation that we can have some other time. But for the average Gen Z dude who's out there in the field, it's not looking good, man.
it's not looking bad either. It's not looking good, but it's not looking bad either. And let me tell you why. Because with just a little bit of effort, you can jump over 80% of dudes and put yourself in a position where you're competitive in the dating marketplace.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of guys are missing on that. Like, dude, if you decide to be a slob, you want to eat slop all day, you want to be obese like most Westerners, or certainly most Americans, you're not putting in the work which is required to improve yourself. You're economically lacking. Guess what? It's going to be tough for you. It's gonna be tough for you. If you're not going to the gym, then don't complain about Chad and Tyrone just banging all the girls out there, banging all the Stacys, right? Don't complain about that. But if you're willing to put in the work, dude, you're not gonna get all the girls, but you'll get something, and you'll get someone of quality, right? So it's not a good dating marketplace. It's definitely not good, but I think that it might be best. And yes, Mog Max, Boyos, Mog Maxing is the key, no doubt.
Being in good shape for sure. Being in good shape for sure. That's key. That's a good strategy. What do you think about dating apps? Are dating apps a good solution for Gen Z? I know a lot of women don't even use dating apps. Men mostly use dating apps. Is that even a good strategy for a younger guy who doesn't have the logistics, doesn't have the money, doesn't have the aesthetics?
If you are not a Mogged, Maxed, Chad, or Tyrone, don't even think about getting on the dating app.
Holy shit, you're killing them, man.
Just throw the dating apps
You're
in the
we're
trash.
supposed to be giving guys advice. Oh, what are you doing?
I,
You're killing them.
I'm giving them the best advice that I can give them. And this goes back to their mental health earlier, right? If you want to keep your sanity about yourself, just throw dating apps in the trash, man. And here's why. The success which you're gonna get on dating apps, you're not gonna get success on dating apps first and foremost. And if you do manage to get success as a regular guy, it's not going to be of the quality which you envision, right? You're not listen, a guy who's a five on a dating app, you're lucky if you're matching with a land whale, or with just a beast of burden. Like, you're lucky if you match with that.
My success on dating apps has been subpar. I'm not even gonna lie, but that's because I never put in enough effort. My pictures have never been on point.
I,
That's why I don't want to say dating apps don't work, because I've seen a few friends of mine who, just by having some better pictures, had a lot more success than I had.
that's cope, man. I know a friend of mine, or an acquaintance of mine. He's a Mog Max Tyrone. I've seen his account. I've seen
No,
his
no, the
dating
guy
app
I'm talking
account.
about, he's not even a Tyrone.
Okay,
He's barely like, he got some drip, he got some Gucci clothes, some Gucci shoes, right? That happens to work. Depending on the women you're dealing with,
I
that
will.
happens to work.
It also depends highly on your location, man. And I mean, right now we're in a big city, right? We're not gonna say which city, but we're in a big city,
The
and
guy I'm talking about was literally in the Midwest, and he was slaying on Tinder. I was like, how? He met this young, mixed, half Japanese girl, 19 years old,
In the Midwest.
on Tinder. I was like, holy smoke. And like it works for some guys. Like the reason why I'm not gonna talk trash about dating apps is because I never really put in a lot of effort. My pictures on there are trash. You know what I mean? Like I've never really gone hard. But do you think the average dude has any chances on
Well,
Tinder? Just
well,
from a statistical.
absolutely not. And even if the average, well, first of all, the average dude has horrible pictures on Tinder. I mean, we've done experiments where we pose as women before, and we've seen what the average dude posts on Tinder. It's horrible, right? It's horrible. But even if the average dude managed to increase the quality of their pictures, I still don't think that they're going to be as successful as they envision that they're going to be. Maybe they might marginally improve depending on how they look, depending on, on how attractive they are. But for the most part, I don't see much luck for the average dude on Tinder.
Big Ed said unit profile pics plus face app plus Tinder Gold. You know what, man? I'm gonna take your advice on that. I've never tried the professional pictures. I've always used my own selfies, man. Like I know that doesn't work. I'm kind of lazy on that. But do you think using professional pictures give you an edge?
Yeah, for sure. Professional pictures will give you a substantial edge. I agree with that.
Mhm.
However, once again, I'm going to go back to my first statement regarding dating apps. If you're not a Mog Max Tyrone, you can only, or a Mox Mag Chad, you can only go so far. Now, I'm not saying only Chad and Tyrones have success. If you're a Chad Light or a pretty boy, you will have some success. Now,
Sure.
if you're neither of those, and you're taking professional pictures, make sure you have a nice outfit on, make sure you dress well, make sure you portray that you have a varied social life. I think you could have some success. Don't be just the guy holding the fish. Hey, look at me. I have my Bass Pro fishing hat on. I got the I got the swordfish I'm holding, and that's like 1,000 guys on
Yeah,
Tinder.
you wanna stand out. You
Y-
wanna stand
You
out.
want to stand out. You want to make sure that you
Man,
put
I've
forth your
gotten
best
mad
foot
pics
forward.
where they think you're a strong personality, even if it's you in a suit at a restaurant table. For sure. For sure. They wanna see your lifestyle. They
Exactly.
wanna see your lifestyle. They wanna see something of value, something that signals abundance and social lifestyle. Not, bathroom selfies.
No,
That's not gonna work for
no, a
me.
bathroom selfie. You're out the door. You're not even in the discussion.
And it's
But
crazy because I've had success on Bumble as opposed to Tinder. But when I watch guys like Austin Dunham will say Bumble's trash. But he said
mm,
Bumble's trash. He had success on Hinge and Tinder. But for me, Bumble has worked for me because the woman will make the first step.
I will say one thing about Austin Dunham. He's a very attractive guy, right? And on Bumble, of course, women have to make the first
Pause,
step.
pause,
Yeah, pause. But I mean, he is like he's a Mog Max
pause.
Tyrone.
Yeah, he's Mug Max.
He's the Mog Max Tyrone. Like we just got to be honest, got to keep it real. And I think that women may be intimidated to initiate conversation with him on Bumble,
Bumble, yeah.
especially if they're not up to par themselves, right? But
Yeah, the one thing that Bumble thought was a competitive advantage is actually costing them money.
oh, it's costing them a lot of money because
Yeah.
women just don't initiate, contact. And guess what? Bumble might be going out of business soon. Bumble might very well
that's
be out of
that's
business.
quite possible. The one thing that they kind of use to say, hey, okay, we're gonna give women the ability to make the first step is, from my perspective, like really slowing down the interactions on the platform.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's not that I don't think that women are not reaching out to Austin Dunham on Bumble. I think they are reaching out to him. Maybe just not in the numbers which they're reaching out to him on Tinder, or
Yeah,
it's just not as efficient
he's
as
not
as
able to
Tinder is,
maximize.
since he's not able to reach out to them first, right? But
Exactly.
I have seen, once again, I have seen the Bumble profile of a close account, a close acquaintance of mine who's very Mog Max, and it's insane the type of traction he
On
gets on
Bumble,
there on Bumble. he said he was banned from Tinder, right? So the type of interactions he's getting on Bumble is wild. He's sourcing hundreds of women from there.
Damn.
And I mean, that's just the reality of the dating market. The rich get richer,
That's a
the poor
marketplace.
gets
Yeah.
poorer. It's the marketplace.
That's
It's
why
capitalism at its
That's
finest.
why Gen Z needs to prepare
Yeah. And
because they will get slaughtered out there.
Gen Z will get slaughtered,
The
man.
dating marketplace is not woke, man. You know, as much as people talk about being woke and so on and so forth, the dating marketplace is one of the most hardcore, cutthroat places out there. Right? Nobody's gonna come save you. Nobody's gonna hook you up. Even your best friends are not gonna hook you up. Right? It's just not gonna happen. It's every man for himself.
Every man for himself. And you know what? That's another negative aspect of the dating marketplace, man, for Gen Z. Because at least back in the day, you weren't really a man on an island, you know? If your friends had girls and you didn't have one, they'd try to make an effort to hook you up. With Gen Z, it's not really like that, man. Guys really don't have that sort of camaraderie and that sort of community. Guys are just,
Don't go to church expecting to get a
lone cell.
girlfriend.
Oh yeah, church sales. It's over for church sales, man.
It's over for church. Don't go to church expecting to get a nice, loyal girlfriend at church. It's just not gonna happen. Now let's move on to the next one. The next strategy that millions of guys have been talking about. They've been using. They went viral. You know what I'm talking about?
Passport bros.
Should Gen Z Passport Max? Should they save money to Passport Max? What country should they go to? What do you think?
Absolutely. That's it. That's all I have to say. Absolutely, you got a Passport Max. And you said millions of dudes. I don't know if the number of Passport bros has reached that.
I'm saying across the globe.
Across the globe, yeah.
Across the globe. And when I say millions, it's not necessarily millions of them that are traveling right now, but millions of them that are sold on the concept.
Oh, or following the movement, or in my plan.
Doing it in the future.
Absolutely. I consider myself a passport bro, and I haven't traveled yet, at least not during the passport bro era, right? And here's the thing about passport bro. It taught a lot of guys in the West that, hey, listen, you may not have the value here in the West in the dating marketplace, which you wish to have, but if you have the leverage, either economically or either, socially, you can use that leverage in another location off this planet. And since we're in a globalized world, you don't have to stick to your corner of the woods. You could catch a flight, you're out of there. You leave these girls, with these exaggerated ideas, these exaggerated demands that you need to be 6'6" and you need to have 8 figures, and you could leave that behind. You don't have to deal with that, and you could meet girls who are beautiful, fit, friendly, feminine. They'll cook for you, they'll clean for you. I mean, it's just it's awesome, it's amazing. And look, it
I think Gen Z can definitely benefit from that. Having different locations that you go to, different countries that you go to, as long as you take the necessary precautions, right?
mhm.
You know what the country you're going to. You know the risk. The safety aspect. Like Colombia right now is not the safest place for some guys, right? Because they're not taking the necessary precautions. But you see other guys saying, "Hey, I've been in Colombia for the last 5 years and it's been great and nothing bad happens." So you gotta be careful. You gotta do your homework, right? There's guys who go to Colombia. There's guys who go to Brazil. There's guys who go to Mexico. There's guys who go to Eastern Europe,
Thailand.
Romania, Poland. Those two seem to be very popular. Of course, Thailand. It's a number of countries you can go to where, as soon as you step off that plane, the dynamic just shifts in your favor. It's a paradigm shift, and you become the man, right? You become Tyrone and Chad by showing up.
I mean, I think that's true outside of Western countries, or westernized countries. I think that's true for
Mhm.
pretty much all other countries, right? Or not just westernized countries, but outside of other developed nations. That's true of all other nations, right?
Most definitely.
Once you step off of that plane, you your value just rises.
Your value goes up
Yeah,
economically, socially.
simply because you may have the power of the dollar, or the power of the euro, and that spending power
Mhm.
just raises your economic value
Your
by
value
that
goes up
much.
across the board. Yeah.
And I will say one advice I will give to my aspiring passport bros out there who are members of Gen Z: try to go to countries which are not being as traveled. you know Try to go to countries where others don't go as much. For example, guess what, I want to go to Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan,
What?
Kazakhstan, like those
Those are the places you want to go to?
those central step countries, because guess what, not a lot of guys are going there. If you show up there, you're gonna have an authentic experience.
I don't know if I would go to Uzbekistan
But here's the thing: it's not like you're okay. I'm going to Colombia. Oh yeah, I'm in Medellin. I'm in Laureles.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
Well,
gringos
you
around.
could say in South America, there's South and Central America. There's like Peru, there's Chile, Argentina is starting us to become right. I see more and more guys talking about Argentina now, Uruguay. Like you don't have to go all the way out to Asia. You could go right there to South America. There's like a bunch of countries that guys don't go to.
That's true.
Guys stick to Colombia, Brazil, and DR.
Well, first of all, I mean, you have to understand, guys have their preferences, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
if you like Asian women, I mean, I understand Brazil has the second largest Japanese population outside of Japan, but I wouldn't necessarily go to Latin
Guys
America
don't
for
go to
that.
Brazil for that. You know why they go to Brazil. They
Exactly.
don't go for that.
But some guys are into Eastern European women, so they go to Eastern Europe. And I'll say, as far as South America goes, a lot of guys travel with convenience in mind, right?
Yeah.
Guys don't really travel far. For example, like Brazil, not as many guys travel to Brazil as the amount of guys who travel to Colombia. Because guess what?
Yeah, Brazil
Colombia is
is
just like,
closer, man.
it's just a 4 to 6 hour flight from Miami, whereas Brazil is gonna take longer. So
Yeah, that's true. That's part of the reason why Colombia has been getting a lot of attention and guys have been getting set up. That's why Colombia right now is under fire. But yeah, like I said, there's gems like Peru, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina. If you don't want to go, I know for sure I want to go to Brazil.
absolutely,
I want to
absolutely.
go check out Brazil for
I
sure.
I want to go to Brazil. I want to travel in Africa. And me, I want to be a passport bro, not just of course to experience the beautiful women there, but I want to go there to experience the culture, to grow as a
Yeah, to
human
know the
being,
culture for sure.
to eat the food, to see the sights. I want to be a worldly man. And you can't be a worldly man if you're stuck in your mom's basement. You're whacking off to prawn. You're looking at Lana Rose and you're like, "Oh my god, that's my dream girl."
My man Big Ed said Muslim Central Asian countries are going to care if you follow Islam, and then they'll probably also care whether you're from their tribe because it will be for marriage and children. Are you passport maxing for marriage and children?
Uh
Is that on the list or? I
not
know for
initially.
for me it's definitely not. Definitely, like you said, not initially for sure.
Well, first of all, not all Central Step nations are Muslim, right? But
Yeah,
but he's
yeah,
right.
you don't
Uzbekistan
want to
probably
Chechnya
is.
Max, man.
Yeah, I'm Dagestan Max. Dagestan Max.
you don't you don't want to Chechnya
Do I
Max,
want a
man.
Dagestan Max? Oh
All
man, I'm gonna be
right.
like, what's his name?
Uh,
Is Islam? What's the UFC guy's name?
what's his
The
name?
one who fought Conor McGregor.
Khabib.
Yeah, I'm not gonna Khabib
Yeah,
Max.
you don't want to be out there, man.
Yo,
I mean, Central Europe is pretty dope, man.
I mean,
Bulgaria.
but listen, there's some central, there's some.
There's guys going in Ukraine right now.
I mean, there's Georgia, there's Armenia's a Christian nation of sort. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily, you're only going to Muslim Central Step countries.
There's guys in Ukraine and Russia right now, as we speak, that
Yeah,
are doing their thing.
yeah, I don't know if I'd go to countries who are embroiled in a war. I wouldn't advise that. Some guys just like that
I
risk
probably would
factor.
not do that.
I wouldn't do that. There's tons of countries you can go to. Now, there's some countries that I'm not particularly keen on going to
Mhm.
personally. I don't know if I should mention them or not,
Which
but
ones? You can mention.
I don't know if I'd want to go. Not that I have anything against India, but I just don't know if I'd want to go there, man.
So here's the thing I'm finding out. India, it's a pretty diverse country. Put it that way. You'd have to know where, which city. I mean, there you could go to some of the big cities like Delhi, or but it's still a pretty conservative country too.
Yeah,
It's still a conservative country.
I definitely want to go to Japan. Now
What do you,
that
yeah, Japan for sure. But what do you think of Western Europe? What do you
I
think of Western Europe? Germany, France, UK, Spain, Portugal.
Here's the thing, when I think of Western Europe, I think of an extension of the United States, and of course, they're part of the West. They're the foundation of the West,
Mhm.
and I do think that they, although in certain areas, they're not as stubborn or just as disillusioned as Americans.
Mhm.
And I would love to visit, Western Europe, and I will. It's certainly on my list. I just don't think that if you're trying to escape or quote unquote escape the matrix and escape the West, I don't think that Western Europe would be the ideal place to do it, because guess what? Your purchasing power is actually going to be less. Like especially us as Americans, if we're going to Western Europe, you're not going to be able to passport bro max efficiently. You now have to convert your currency to euros, which is going to set you back a lot, even if you have money.
Yeah.
And also, although Western Europe has a lot of different cultural practices which you can enjoy, I still think that I still think that you can find much more fulfilling travel experiences outside of Western Europe, to be honest with you.
No, I mean I love Western Europe for sure. Like from a cultural standpoint, like you said. As far as dating though, it might not be the place for a lot of guys. I
Absolutely not.
think guys may want to wait when they really have it going on, when they have the money and they have the stability and they have the time. But just for cultural reasons, I'm planning on going to Western Europe and traveling across Western Europe just to see the sights,
Right. If you're gonna passport,
sightseeing,
right.
Paris, Belgium,
Mhm.
Brussels, those places.
Absolutely. And if you're going to passport bro max, I would definitely advise that you do so in developing nations, right? Now, I don't mean just third world backwater nations with no electricity like, the haters of passport bros say, but I say developing nations as in nations which haven't hit their peak yet. They're still developing. They're still growing and building their infrastructure. It doesn't mean that they don't have existing infrastructure in place, right? Look at what's that nation? Kuala Lumpur, or
Kuala Lumpur.
it's the capital. It's not the capital. It's in what? Malaysia, right? In Malaysia. Yeah, look at
Any country that's like, I'm not a big fan of like, isn't Malaysia a Muslim country?
Malaysia is it is a Muslim.
Malaysia, Indonesia,
Indonesia has the
Indonesia,
largest
Indonesia,
Muslim
but I have to be
population.
careful.
Well, here's the thing about Malaysia. In the big cities, which are especially, I think Kuala Lumpur. Let me know if I'm spelling that wrong. But in large cities, which are essentially hubs of trade, you're not going to be practicing Sharia law there, right? They're not going to haul you to
Yeah, you
prison,
definitely
right?
gotta be
Well,
careful.
here's the thing about Kuala Lumpur, though. I watched Nomad Capitalist his video about there, and he stated that he loves the medical care there. Everything is so cheap there, so affordable there. And as a passport bro, really the main attraction to being a passport bro is its economic value. You're able to get so much bang for your buck, right? And especially if you're able to work remotely and get paid in US dollars, but you're living in a country which has a currency which is far, far less than the US dollar, and you're able to save so much, you're going to live such a quality life, right? And you'll be able to reinvest your savings. You'll be able to diversify your assets and not have the stress of worrying about whether you'll be able to pay your car note, whether your apartment, is going to be able uh to be paid for, and you won't be served an
That
eviction
being
notice.
said, I recommend going to EWA Women's University Korean Language Intensive Program. Their uni has 40,000 female students, and they're next to the other top two unis in Seoul. What do you think of Seoul, South Korea?
Plastic surgery capital of the world. I mean, I don't have anything against Korea. You know,
South Korea. You don't want to go to North Korea.
Kim Jong Un's my friend.
You don't want to make your way up there, man.
Kim Jong Un's my pal, man. I don't have anything against South Korea, but for me, like personally, I feel a much stronger draw to Japanese culture. It might be because I've been watching anime since I was a kid, you know, watching Dragon Ball Z, Naruto. I speak a little bit of Japanese. My friend, she actually lived in Japan. One of my friends from school, she actually lived in Japan and worked there. Um, so I but it's not that I don't mind visiting Seoul. I think Seoul, you know, would be a very interesting place to visit.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, look at the cultural influence which Seoul has been able to exert with K-pop and Gangnam Style. You know, they've grown beyond their wildest dreams. So,
As far as Asia, there's many places to visit.
right.
Japan, Thailand, like you said, Indonesia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore. There's a lot of places, but from a dating standpoint, it's kind of limited, I would say. I would still go to Japan. I'd still go to Thailand and those places, because a lot of guys they prefer Asian women, right? A lot of
Mhm.
guys are not gonna go to South America. They'll go to Thailand. Some guys will go to the Philippines. Some guys will go to China. But
Nah.
I think South Korea can work for a lot of guys, especially white guys who can go to South Korea and slay there.
Yeah, here's the thing about South Korea. It has a very womanist, very strong womanist mindset and cultural attitudes there. And if that's what you're escaping from the West, you're not going to find submissive women in South
You
Korea
still
like
gotta
that.
be exotic though.
I mean, you will be
You
exotic.
like
Yeah, you may get attraction. I mean, it depends what you're going for. If you're going just to date, yeah, I think
yeah,
South Korea may be all
for
right
a
for you.
few weeks, you know what I mean? You're not moving there.
But I think the best Asian country, in my opinion, it's one which few people talk about, but
What's that?
Vietnam, bro.
Oh yeah, Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Vietnam is on point.
You go to Ho Chi Minh City. Ho Chi Minh City looks beautiful. You know, it's been built. I mean, it looks like a thriving, developing city. And that's,
Yeah, Vietnam is on point. Yeah,
yeah. And I think,
definitely.
you know, with manufacturing, you know, being manufacturing companies moving their hubs from China
You
to
got some
Vietnam,
talent there.
there's going to be booms there. And the women are beautiful. The food is wonderful,
Yeah, you got
delicious.
some talent there. Big
Dude,
Deep Ed said, I remember walking into a nightclub in Taiwan with three other foreigners, and a group of girls literally went up to us cheering like we were celebrities. Hey, you might have been a celebrity there,
you
man.
might have been.
They might have recognized you. Maybe you look like an actor or something.
Yeah, you know what they do in China? Every
Oh,
time.
snap. He said, they welcome Americans with legs wide open. Holy snap.
Hey,
Hey, we
listen,
might have to. We might have to Taiwan
we
match.
might have to Taiwan Max, but
We might
once
have to
again,
Taiwan
man,
match.
I don't feel comfortable passport bro maxing in potential zones of conflict. You know,
Yeah,
I
you
really
might
don't.
get caught into a war.
I really don't want to do that. Like,
You might not. Dwight Howard's playing in Taiwan right now. Although I don't think Dwight Howard's a good example. He's game maxing. I
he's
don't think.
training
I don't think
maxing.
Dwight Howard's a good example. But yeah, Taiwan. I've seen. I think the people are friendly because I met a dude from Taiwan like 10 years ago. He was a very friendly dude. I think the people are friendly to foreigners, like he said. That's a wealthy country. Yeah, I think Asia is definitely on my list. It's not first. South America's first, obviously, from a dating women standpoint. Europe, Western Europe is on the list from a cultural standpoint, and I think Asia might come next. But that's when I have a lot more money because that's gonna cost money for the flight, for the hotel, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So it's on my list, but it's not anytime soon.
for me, I think I'd have Africa before Asia, right?
Okay.
Because once again, Africa meets my criteria for passport bro maxing
Mm-hmm.
more than Asia. That is developing nations, which aren't, and you're going
I
to
see.
developing nations where your bank could go further for your buck, right? And I'm not, of course, there's a lot of very impoverished locations in Africa, but once again, the continent with the most thriving nations on there, right?
Yeah,
Or
there's some
developing
nice places.
nations on there.
There's Kenya, there's Ghana, there are many
Yeah, it has, the fastest, it has the economies which are fastest rising on the global development index. So I want to go there. I could go to Rwanda, go to Kigali, Rwanda. I could go to Senegal. There's a lot of countries I can go to where I can explore, and it's a huge continent, right? And dude, like,
From a passport bro standpoint, I agree with you, but I think for me, just from a cultural standpoint, I would go to Asia first, like places like Hong Kong, Japan,
mhm.
Singapore, Thailand, even China. I would want to go visit those places first, like those major cities. I think it would be a very, very fun trip. But like you said, from a passport bro standpoint, Africa would definitely be up there.
Yeah, I think Africa would probably be a much better cultural experience for me
Mhm.
personally. Although I Asia, I wouldn't mind
I
Asia.
think you're slipping on Asia,
I'm not sleeping on Asia. I already told you I want to go to Japan. I already know like Japan is gonna be off the chain, and I want to go to Vietnam as well, and the Philippines. The Philippines is gonna be a great country to go to. So
man.
you know, there's a line.
Weed and steroids are legal in Thailand for sure.
Yeah, man. You see that might have been what did Ziz in, man. R.I.P. to Ziz, bro. R.I.P. to
A lot of
Ziz.
guys go to Thailand and they mug max like crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Steroids, the Thai box.
Soy Six. All the guys going to Soy Six,
I don't know if I would do that, but I don't know if I'm a steroid max.
and a lot of guys are Ladyboy maxing in Thailand.
Some dudes brag about that, bro.
That's crazy.
Some dudes brag. They say they love trans maxing.
Hey man, Ladyboy,
I
Ladyboys,
enjoy maxing, but
they're
some guys brag about
they're
it.
icons of the country, right? So I mean, somebody's seen them.
I don't know if I would do that. But if you want a more natural, organic interaction, yeah, Africa might be better than Asia. Because from
Yeah.
what I heard, Asia can be very transactional, straight to the point, especially if you're passport maxing. Like guys go to Thailand and they get these very transactional interactions. Girls just some girls just want to escort max. Some girls just trying to get married. Like so in
Yeah.
Africa, you'll meet people. It'll be a cool vibe. Yeah. On that note, I think you might be right on that. What
Yeah.
do you think of the Middle East? Dubai, those
When,
places.
listen,
You
in
gonna Dubai Max like that boy Tate?
listen, man.
You gonna Dubai Max like Tate?
Dubai is a very interesting city in the sense that, listen, it's luxurious, it's modern. I mean, it's beyond modern, right? It's postmodern. But the thing about Dubai is the women.
You gonna Saudi Max like Sneeko?
Yeah, I don't know. Wait, Sneeko was in Saudi Arabia.
Sneeko Saudi Maxing right now.
He's in Saudi.
He got the whole outfit. You know what I mean? With the thing on his head and
No, no,
everything.
he was in Dubai. He was in Dubai.
Mm-mm.
He was in
Saudi.
Riyadh.
Yeah, yeah. Bro.
Oh hell! Oh nah, man. Yeah, there's some countries you're not gonna catch me trying to passport bro in because the culture's so strict.
Muslim Maxing.
Well,
Sneako's
that's him. For
Muslim.
me, listen, I'm not Muslim. The culture's a little bit too strict for my taste. If you get perceived to be doing anything and you're in a culture which is
UAE and Qatar, those are the two least
yeah, but check it out, right?
conservative.
If you're in a culture where you're once again you don't know the culture, you don't understand it, and you don't have any power, the legal system could easily be wielded upon against you. But I will say Dubai is such an international city that it's very unlikely for you to suffer, such extreme consequences there.
Mhm.
So long as you're being an upstanding
Most
citizen.
Europeans who go to Dubai, they go there for tax purposes.
Exactly. Like Brits. A lot of Brits go there so they don't pay taxes.
They
But
move there, they set up. Big Ed said Bahrain is the country that everyone flies to for hookers there. They trap Russian women there. Oh, are you serious right now?
Bahrain,
Is that
yeah.
Bahrain? Is that close to Israel? Is that close to?
No, Bahrain. I think it's
It's in the Middle East somewhere.
it's on the border with Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. They
And
trap women there. God,
I think it's on the border with UAE, right? Look it up. Look it up. But
some of that nature. Yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't.
yeah, I would only city I'd go to in the Middle East would probably be would probably be Dubai because Dubai is
Oh,
such an
I'd go to
international
Qatar
city.
too. Qatar cater
Doha,
to, yeah, they cater to foreigners. They even let you drink. They even have establishments where you can go and drink.
yeah, but I mean, look at it
Um,
during the World Cup. They didn't even want people drinking there during the World
yeah,
Cup.
at the public areas, but like you could go to their establishments, you could go. But I'd go there just to visit because
Yeah, yeah.
the infrastructure is amazing.
These are
You could
countries
go.
you just go to visit.
Yeah,
Now,
they'll let you show up and visit. Yeah.
if I want a passport, bro, Max, in Muslim countries, I will go to MENA. Well, no, not MENA. I'll go to North Africa,
Oh, Morocco.
Morocco, Algeria, Egypt,
Morocco's up there for sure.
well, Tunisia. In a distant past, maybe I could have gone to Libya. I don't know if I do that today.
You might not want to do that. You might not want to. You might not want to live that max in Syria max.
Nah, not Syria Max. Even Lebanon Max, man. Lebanon Max is Jordan. Jordan used to be a pretty good country, but yeah, Jordan Maxing is off the table now, man.
Yeah, Morocco's a good destination for sure.
What do you think of the Nordic countries?
Oh, the Nordic model. You heard of the Nordic model?
I've heard of the Nordic model. Or
Man, I'd love to visit those places. I'm a big fan of what they call Swedish noir. You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Noir, like the movies, like dark movies.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, I'm a
Li-
big fan of those movies.
what was that movie with Bruce Willis in it?
I'm not sure, but
That
yeah,
dark movie. I know which one you're talking
I'd
about.
love to visit those places. So Sweden, Norway, Denmark. Well, Sweden is the one that's the most famous, right? Of all the Scandinavian countries.
Probably, yeah. I'd say Sweden would probably be
Yeah,
most
I mean, I
famous.
just go there. I wouldn't have my hopes up from a dating standpoint.
Oh no, you'd actually perform better in Sweden, man.
No, I don't know about that.
Look, I mean, dude, well, Scandinavian women are much more
From a dating standpoint, I would not have my hopes
open.
up because from what I heard is it's very hard there. Guys are struggling there.
I mean,
You guys are very tall, so you're competing with a lot of chads.
you're competing with tall dudes, not
You'd have to
necessarily
bring in
chats,
the
man.
exotic factor. You'd have to bring in the exotic factor to be like, look at me, you know what I mean? Like you'd have to have dreads and shit like that. You
I
can't be a regular. You gotta be like a Tyrone.
yeah, I mean, sure, you got a Mog Max for sure to be successful in Sweden,
Mm.
but I don't know if you really need dreads. Like I don't know if that's true,
You'd
but
have to be exotic.
from what I hear, Swedish women are much more culturally open than Anglo-Saxon women, than Anglos, for sure. If anything,
Maybe 10, 15 years ago, yeah, but today it's like
you think it's because, especially with Sweden, do you think it's because of the immigration issues going
they've
on
been
there?
exposed to all of that stuff.
Denmark hasn't,
Denmark.
not to the
They
degree that
reversed.
Sweden has.
Oh yeah, they reversed their policies, their immigration policies. They shut it down.
I will say, of all Western European countries, I'm very excited about the Iberian countries. I want to go to Spain and Portugal. They're top on my list, man.
Okay.
They're top on my list. I think,
One country ironically that I want to go to is Germany.
Guten Tag.
There's one place just for the architecture, bro. Like their stuff is it's very straightforward.
Mhm.
It's not like the Latin countries. It's very straight up nice. I just want to go there and I want to bang a lot of tall German broads, man. Imagine pulling up in Germany and you're pulling bad, tall, blonde chicks,
You-
6 feet tall, blonde chicks.
If you want to bang well,
You know what I mean? Like imagine being able to do that.
if you want to bang German broads, just go to the Midwest, bro.
Bro, I'm talking about legit German. Bro.
I mean,
Go to the Midwest. Come on, man.
I mean, Germans are literally the largest.
Just go to Kentucky, bro.
Just go to Indiana, bro. Indiana, Max.
I'm trying to go to Berlin. This dude talking about just go to Kentucky.
Go to Pennsylvania.
Nah,
Germans are.
legit German girls in Germany.
German Americans are the largest ethnic group, by nation in the United States, right?
Sure.
In terms of ancestry.
I can go to January Max in Berlin, dude.
And go to FKK clubs.
I can go to January Max in Berlin, but nah, Germany's up there, man.
I mean, Germany would be a great place to visit.
Factor, you can bring that with you.
Yeah.
I think many Western European, especially the northern countries, the exotic factor can help you a lot.
Yeah. But let's get back to Gen Z. You know, we've discussed all these various places around the globe which Gen Z can aspire to visit. Now, how does Gen Z go about achieving the financial freedom to reach these locations, these exotic locations?
Um, I think we can discuss that on another show, but I could say that as far as money, um, you gotta have at least two jobs, regardless of unless you have like a high paying job from the get go. You work in tech, finance, you get a high paying job straight out of college. I recommend always doing two jobs and always be saving money. Always be saving. Like, do not spend all your money. You have to save.
I agree with that. And you know, I recommend a job and a side hustle. And the side hustle, I recommend something which, although it may not, you know, start bringing you uh income or start bringing you the amount of income you want straight away, but I recommend you building a sort of business which you own on the side, right? While you're working a regular job and you're building your business, soon enough, if anything were to happen to you and you were to lose your regular job, you can have a business which is able to generate you income.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we'll do a whole show on that. I think that deserves its own show
absolutely.
where we can give more guidance on that. Um, there's one thing that I wanted to bring up is because we talked about passport maxing, but in the U.S., what are some cities you recommend for guys to check out where they can
Uh
maximize? Because a lot of guys may have to relocate
yeah.
to maximize not just like dating, but also their money. Like, what are some cities you would recommend to those guys?
In the US, I would recommend guys to go to second tier cities which aren't, you know, too populated and, you know, which aren't on everybody's radar. For instance, I would recommend guys to visit Nashville, right?
Mhm.
I think Nashville as a city is beautiful. I haven't been there, but of course I've seen videos and pictures and whatnot. And I've met many women from Nashville. Tennessee women overall, man, they're just there's something about women from Tennessee,
Yeah.
bro. I love them.
There's one town in Tennessee that you're not naming though.
Don't say Memphis.
No, no, not Memphis.
Don't say Chattanooga.
Chattanooga, bro.
Uh,
Chattanooga is underrated as look.
but it's too small. It's too small. I
I've
think
seen some bodies there, bro.
uh, Memphis, you're gonna see way more baddies there.
Oh no, I wouldn't say Memphis because
No,
Memphis
I'm
is
sorry, not Memphis, Nashville.
yeah, I wouldn't say
Not
Nashville too.
yeah, yeah. Memphis is a little too hood for my
Nashville,
taste.
Chattanooga is also close to some other cities in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Chattanooga is dope. But yeah, you said second tier cities. Why second tier cities?
Because well, because the you know the larger cities, they're a bit unbearable to go visit. Everybody's an NPC pretty much. All the girls are the same. They're all chasing the same shit. You go to Miami, you're already in Atlanta, you're already in New York, you're already in Houston, you're already in LA, you're already in Chicago. It's the same thing for these cities, right? But you know, a smaller, let's say, I would say Austin, but I think Austin is, you know, starting to run its course now. Maybe a city like uh Seattle's going down a drain. I mean, oh man, there's a lot. Detroit is on the comeback now.
Yeah,
Detroit is going
Detroit is
through a rejuvenation. So I'd say
I
Detroit.
mean, look, I have to say I have to disagree with you, man. Like, I actually think that Big Ed is writing some comments. We'll read those, but I have to say that big cities are underrated to a certain extent. I think Miami, I think ATL, I think Boston, I think New York, I think LA. I think all those are underrated. I think you need a plan. You can't just show up. If you go to Miami, you can't just show up.
You can't.
You know what I mean? But I think there's a lot of gyms, there's a lot of girls, behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff.
I don't disagree there, but for me personally, I'm just speaking personally here. the big cities feel a bit empty, you know.
Mhm.
It feels like they're lacking a sort of ambiance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Although, you have those big parties, those big clubs, those big that that huge monstrous nightlife. I think the smaller cities have a sort of authenticity which cannot be
Yeah.
replicated.
I see what you're saying. I would still recommend the big cities. I recommend guys go check them out, get the vibe, see what it's like. But yeah, as far as second tier, Orlando,
Orlando is amazing. Yeah.
second tier, I think
Charlotte. Charlotte.
Charlotte,
Charlotte would be great.
Charlotte's on there.
Charlotte's amazing.
Um, I think the DMV area
DMV's pretty good.
pretty dope. Dallas.
Um, I
Uh,
mean New York. When I say New York now, uh,
New York is New York.
Connecticut, certain areas in Connecticut,
Yeah,
and
it's a
yeah.
vibe. It's a vibe, bro. It's a vibe. Big Ed said university towns. The first things for logistics are number one, have a patio with a view or a hot tub. Number two, be close to student or nightlife. Have a patio with a view. How does that help you with?
I mean, it has to be a pretty good view. Girls want to come in.
Patio? Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes. A hot tub, does that help you?
If you can get, if you can get the baddies there, it will. I mean, these aren't bad logistics, but honestly, once again, I'm speaking from the perspective of a Gen Zer. It's kind of hard, to run before you walk, right? You got to walk before you run, and
Mhm.
we got to follow the steps. But for guys who are established, that's a great idea because you'll be able to source plenty of girls there. And if spinning places your goal, then what Big Ed is saying is absolutely true.
You need to invite someone back for wine or a hot tub quickly from nightlife. For sure.
Yeah. And wait, is he using Big Ed's picture as in like the Big Ed from 90 Day Fiance?
I don't
Yeah, this guy's
know.
funny. He's using the face of,
I have no
Big Ed
idea.
from that. I just realized that, bro.
I have no
Oh man, it's funny guy, funny guy. But yeah, man, hey, appreciate you for rocking out
idea. Hey
with us
man, I
today.
appreciate it, bro.
Um,
Appreciate it for sure. We're gonna blow up this channel. It's more content on the way.
way more content, man, and dude, we have a lot of topics to talk about. If there's any topics that you guys want us to talk about, let us know in the comment. Like, drop a comment. Anything you want us to discuss, we'll definitely discuss.
Yeah, for sure, man. We got more stuff on the way because we gotta talk about this stuff. It's very important.
Yeah. And also, I have one tip, right? Like, soon when I start traveling, I'm definitely gonna stream my travels. And guess what?
Mhm.
You can write off all your travel expenses as a bit necessary and ordinary business expense if you're traveling for YouTube, right? If you're recording, and that's one cool hack for my passport bros. Even if you don't want to be a YouTuber, I'd say create a YouTube channel where you're just walking around and you're just, recording what's going on, because guess what? Then you have an excuse to say, hey, my plane ticket, my hotel, my
You can
food,
write
all
off all that stuff.
all of that, it's because I'm traveling for my channel, for my business. So, there's a lot of things we'll talk about later on, but my final message for Gen Zers and just for all men in general: get your mental state right. Mog Max for sure. Get your money right. Put yourself in scenarios where you're going to be able to meet women. Don't stay hooked to your phone watching prawn.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, be sociable. And last but not least, level up so that one day you can be able to passport max.
yeah, definitely, man. Mental health, but to recap, right? I still believe going out like maybe once or twice a month for sure. Putting yourself out there. I do think that you'll get success quicker than other places in the nightclub. The nightclub nightlife is one of the places where you can get success because whether you believe it or not, there's a lot of women out there at these places that are looking for a guy. They're looking for a one night stand, man. It still happens.
Oh, it still
You
happens.
know what I'm saying? It still happens. I think guys need to do that. we need to do a stream on day game or just like just going out during the day. We need to do a whole stream on that and strategize on that because that's something I'm gonna be doing myself. I think I need to because I've been so heavy on the nightlife. It's time for me to start going out during the day and see what it's like.
I mean, even though I despise day games to a certain extent, I'm willing to demonstrate myself in it, and to I
It
don't
doesn't
mind.
have to be straight up pick up all this type of stuff. Like you go to a place, you talk to some people, you introduce yourself, you get numbers. It doesn't
Right.
have to be straight up like just you go out to go up to women like that you don't know. It could just be you go to a location, you socialize, you talk to people, you make friends, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think we've covered everything we needed to cover today,
All
and
right.
we got more coming for sure. It's the Gen Zer.
Hey, Big Ed, thanks for walking with us, man. I'll see you next time. We might go live tomorrow night.
Hey, peace out, Big Ed. It's the
Yeah.
Gen Zer. We're out.
All right, peace.
Peace.